I still remember the day when Colin McRae Rally 3 came out. Quick history lesson. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 came out in the year 2000, and it was amazing. The graphics were amazing for the time, the damage model was amazing for the time. Both the vehicle handling and the physics were revolutionary at the time. The cars were iconic and so were the tracks. It was, and still is to this day, a classic of rally gaming. In 2001, Codemasters announced a sequel, and people were excited. Everyone thought that Colin McRae Rally 3 would be an improvement over Colin McRae Rally 2.0 in every single way. And then in 2002, Colin McRae Rally 3 came out. On consoles at least. And everyone hated it. People praised the graphics, but those same people complained about literally everything else. What do I mean by that? Well, people complained about the damage model, the physics, the handling, the car selection, and about the very odd design choices. Things were not looking good for Codemasters. So how did Codemasters respond to all of this? Well, they made a PC port of the game. The PC port did fix some things, but people still complained. Oh yeah, the PC port also came out 1 year after the console release, in 2003. If you think all of this sounds bad, things get even worse. Few months after the PC release, Codemasters released Colin McRae Rally 04. You all know where this is going, right? Some fans decided to play Colin McRae Rally 04 instead. Some fans decided to go back to Colin McRae Rally 2.0, and every single fan decided to leave Colin McRae Rally 3 in the dust. That's a pretty interesting history lesson, don't you think? I have to say, this whole history lesson got me thinking. You see, I actually played the game back when it came out, and I agreed with everyone else's opinion about the game. Yes, I reacted the same way the fans did. I was also one of those fans that decided to go back to Colin McRae Rally 2.0 after playing this game. All because I was that disappointed. But that was all the way back in 2002. Now we're in 2025. Well, at least I am in 2025 at the time of me recording this video. Recently, I've decided to give this game another shot. I wanted to see if I still feel the same way about the game all those years later. I also wanted to see if the fans were right. Maybe they were overreacting. Maybe all this hate the game got was totally justified. In this video, we're going to be answering the question, how bad is Colin McRae Rally 3 really? Hi everyone, as always Patrick here. If you're already subscribed, make sure you turn on notifications, otherwise YouTube won't tell you if I posted anything. If you are new to the channel, make sure you watch until the very end and consider subscribing if you like it. Okay, Colin McRae Rally 3. Colin McRae Rally 3 was developed and published by Codemasters. The game came out in 2002 on consoles and on PC in 2003. As you would expect, it is the third installment in the Colin McRae Rally series. Just a quick heads up, I have a lot to say about this game, so sit back, relax, get something to eat and drink, and enjoy the show. If you've watched my Colin McRae Rally 2.0 analysis video, you already know how I'm going to analyze this game. If you didn't watch that video, click off this video and go watch my Colin McRae Rally 2.0 analysis video. What are you still doing here? Anyway, let's start the analysis video by analyzing the graphics. I will analyze the graphics in two ways. I will compare the graphics of this game to Colin McRae Rally 2.0, and then I will compare the graphics of this game to other games that also came out in 2002 and 2003. Let's start with the former. Colin McRae Rally 3 looks better than its predecessor in almost every single way, and there's a good reason for that. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 used DirectX 7, which was commonly used at the time, but even then it was already outdated. Colin McRae Rally 3 uses DirectX 9. Back in 2002, DirectX 9 was relatively new. This greatly benefits the game because of two reasons. One, most developers at the time were still using DirectX 8, and 2, because DirectX 9 was relatively new at the time, codemasters were able to use DirectX 9 to gain an advantage. Also, because DirectX 9 was relatively new at the time, codemasters used everything it had to offer at the time. New and improved texture quality, better lighting, better particle effects, especially the smoke effects that come out of your car, better sharpness, more clarity, and much more. Even the tiniest details looked amazing at the time. For example, the tree line is no longer a 2D texture. The same applies to singular and or spaced out trees and bushes, and even the crowd is no longer a cardboard cutout. In fact, most humans in this game are actually animated, especially the rally staff. The UI is also a lot cleaner and... Man, I could go on, but I think you get the idea. Just in case you don't get the idea, here's the too long didn't read version. Colin McRae Rally 3 looks better than its predecessor in almost every single way. But what about the other side of the spectrum? You know, other racing games that also came out in 2002. Well, in 2002 we also had racing games like Rage Rally, Racing Dynamics, and Rally Sports Challenge. That's not enough. I need more games to compare. You know, I did say that the console versions of Colin McRae Rally 3 came out in 2002, and the PC version, which you're watching right now, came out in 2003. So let's add some racing game from 2003 into the mix. In 2003 we also had racing games like Mini Racing Online, Taxi 3, Rallycross, Ford Racing 2, V-Rally 3, Chase HQ 2 Evolution, and Live for Speed. And before you say anything, yes, I'm including low budget releases too. Colin McRae Rally 3 looks better than most low budget titles, but it also looks worse than some racing games I've just mentioned. For example, Rally Sports Challenge. Still, I have to admit it, the game looks great for 2002, and even for 2003 in some cases. I wish I could also praise the graphical options the game gives you, but I can't. Let's start with the positives. 1. Most basic graphical options like the draw distance and the texture quality are there. 2. There's anti-aliasing. And 3. The game supports high frame rates, so the gameplay is going to be smooth. Okay, time for the problems. 1. The game doesn't support widescreen resolutions. 2. The game doesn't have a windowed mode and even a borderless full-screen windowed mode. 3. There is no anisotropic filtering. 4. VSync is always on by default. 5. If you get more than 60 FPS, menu animations become sped up and flags or ribbons animate too fast. Thankfully, this doesn't affect the game's physics, so there's that. 6. Remember the part where I said that the game has anti-aliasing? Well, guess what? Enabling anti-aliasing causes the sun to produce this unstable and flickering image, which is not only distracting, it can actually be annoying. And now it's time for the biggest problem number 7. There's no FOV slider and the default FOV is 75. As you can see, that's a lot of problems. Thankfully, all of those problems can be fixed with one simple workaround: the silent patch. If you've watched my Colin McRae Rally 2.0 analysis video, you already know who Silent is. Too long didn't read. Silent is a modder that fixes old games in many different ways. As you can tell, he made a silent patch for this game as well, and it's amazing. Or dare I say it, it's nearly flawless. What does the silent patch do this time? Well, it adds support for widescreen and other aspect ratios including windowed and borderless modes, and it also fixes numerous bugs. Here are some of the bug fixes. It adds anisotropic filtering, it allows you to turn off VSync, it fixes the flickering sun issue when you enable anti-aliasing, and it also adds an FOV slider. In fact, it adds 2 FOV sliders, one for interior cameras and one for exterior cameras. On top of that, the silent patch also adds all of those options in-game, and when you change settings in-game, they actually save. All you need to do is to change those settings once and you don't have to worry about changing settings ever again. Amazing! But, and that's a pretty big but, the silent patch is a bit tricky to install this time around. So here is a quick tutorial on how to install it. Step 1. Download and install the official patch 1.1. If you don't have the most recent release of Colin McRae Rally 3, the silent patch just won't work. So if you actually want the silent patch to work, you need to install the 1.1 patch first. But here's a catch. If you're using a CD Projekt re-release like I am, you don't have to install the 1.1 patch. That's because re-releases from CD Projekt are pre-patched to that version. Step 2. Download the silent patch and the DRM free patcher. Now here's another catch. If you own a re-release from CD Projekt like I am, you don't have to use the DRM free patcher. In fact, you don't even need to download it. That's because re-releases from CD Projekt are already DRM free. Step 3. Extract both to the installation folder. Again, if you own a re-release from CD Projekt, you don't have to use the DRM free patcher. Like I've said before, all you need to do is extract the silent patch then. Step 4. Open setup.bat to patch your 1.1 exe to DRM free 1.1 exe. Once again, you don't have to do it with re-releases from CD Projekt because the re-releases from CD Projekt are already pre-patched to the 1.1 version, and those re-releases are also DRM free. Step 5. This step is optional. You don't have to do it if you want to just play the game. Extract the optional mods. Yes, Silent Patch comes with optional mods. Silent Patch optionally includes a language pack with all 7 languages, HDUI redone for higher resolutions, and Nikki Grist co-driver voice actor for the Polish re-release, aka the CD Projekt re-release. If you've done everything correctly, congrats, you successfully installed the Silent Patch. Like I've said before, the Silent Patch for this game is nearly flawless. And here I have to ask you something, Silent. So, Silent, if you're watching this video, and let's be honest, you probably aren't, but just in case you are watching this video, this is your best work yet. Keep it up. But I have to ask you this. Are you going to make Silent Patch for Colin McRae Rally 04 and Colin McRae Rally 2005 and other Codemasters games? Actually, are you going to make a Silent Patch for every single game ever? Now let's talk about the story. Colin McRae Rally 2.0 didn't have a story. Does Colin McRae Rally 3 change the tradition? Not really. I mean, the game does have an interesting championship mode where you have to, big air quotes here, be Colin McRae himself racing for his, at the time, 4th team. Now listen to this because this is really important. Every game has a concept and an execution of the said concept, right? I have to say, the concept of the story, if you can even call it that, is pretty cool. But the execution, well, I'll talk about it in the gameplay section of the video. And with that being said, I don't have anything else to say about the story, so let's talk about the gameplay. And I have to say, I've got a lot to say about the gameplay. The gameplay of Colin McRae Rally 3 is very similar compared to its predecessor. And yet, this game still does many things differently. Those differences are most noticeable in the general gameplay loop. More specifically, they are most noticeable in the championship mode. So let's talk about the championship mode. The championship in this game takes place over 3 years, 2002, 2003 and 2004, with the difficulty increasing each year as you race to try to become the Sparko Rally champion in Colin McRae's Ford Focus RSWRC02. 6 rallies take place each season. This means that in each season you have to race through 6 out of 8 available countries in the game. Each difficulty setting has a different set of countries you have to race through. Those difficulty settings being normal, hard and very hard. At the start of the game, the only difficulty settings you can choose are normal and hard. Very hard has to be unlocked. You can unlock it by winning the entire championship on hard difficulty. While we're still talking about the difficulty, is it just me or are the difficulty settings in this game a little bit unbalanced? When I was playing on normal, I was able to win every single race without any problems. But when I was playing on hard, I was barely scraping by the victory. And I don't even want to talk about my experience with very hard mode. Seriously, very hard mode in this game is insane. If you're a first timer, I strongly recommend starting the game by playing on normal difficulty. But if you're feeling confident, you can also try playing the game on hard difficulty. or even very hard difficulty if you really feel like it. Just make sure you unlock it first. Okay, time to talk about some more gameplay differences. Each rally takes place during 2 days with 3 special stages each and a final super special stage at the end of the second day. There are service areas between the 2 days. This makes the gameplay loop pretty boring. Let me explain. You start off every rally by completing the first 3 special stages, then you get to the first service area, then you have to complete the other 3 special stages, then you get to the last service area, and then you have to race through the super special stage 7, which always takes place at night. This is a gameplay formula you have to experience throughout the entire game. Nothing changes in the formula. You will probably disagree with me here, but I think this makes the game bland and lifeless. To be fair, Colin McRae Rally 2.0 was very similar. But there's one thing that made the championship mode in Colin McRae Rally 2.0 unique. It's the fact that the difficulty settings affected the amount of stages you had to go through during a championship. I've already explained it in my Colin McRae Rally 2.0 video, so go watch that video if you want to know more. To summarize the general gameplay loop, well, the gameplay loop in Colin McRae Rally 2.0 felt more creative, and the gameplay loop in Colin McRae Rally 3 felt more consistent, and also bland and lifeless at the same time. You know, this is getting boring. Let's talk about the more interesting stuff, like the damage model. I'll start with the visual damage model. Does it look better compared to Colin McRae Rally 2.0? Yes and no. You can break the windows, destroy car lights, destroy the doors. Some car parts like the bumpers can hang by a thread if you damage them hard enough, and they can even be detached completely in a spectacular fashion. This part of the visual damage model looks great, but then there's the other part of the visual damage model. A lot of fun details from Colin McRae Rally 2.0 are missing. Most notable ones? Dents and scratches. The car deformation is also bad. And by bad I mean it's practically non-existent. Now I know what you're thinking. The cars in Colin McRae Rally 2.0 also didn't get dents and scratches. Yes, they did. But you could only notice them through a microscope. Yes, I did look at it through a microscope. And guess what? I also used a microscope for this game. And I didn't notice any dents and scratches. Also, I don't know if this next part is a part of the visual damage model, but I have to talk about it. Cars in this game get dirty, and they get dirty really fast. Seriously, they get extremely dirty after driving on any surface for 5 seconds. I'm not joking. I gotta admit, I expected more from the visual damage model in this game. The same thing goes for the mechanical damage model. The mechanical damage model in Colin McRae Rally 3 is worse compared to Colin McRae Rally 2.0 in almost every single way. The collisions are extremely basic. The car rarely rolls over. The car rarely flips, and the car parts take next to no damage, even on the highest difficulty. Take a look at this. I crashed into multiple objects at very high speed, and those objects barely moved. And the worst part? Somehow I didn't take any damage. How? This also shows that the car interaction with the environment is very bad. I was expecting more from the damage model in this game. What a shame. But forget about the bad damage model, because that isn't even the bad part. The bad part is the physics. When you compare the physics of this game to the physics of Colin McRae Rally 2.0 and even other Colin McRae Rally games, you will quickly notice that the physics in Colin McRae Rally 3 are worse in almost every single way. The cars in this game are way lighter compared to other games. They also have less downforce compared to other games, and they're floating. No, not floaty, floating. It's hard to explain, but to me it feels like the cars don't stick to the ground. Or at the very least they don't feel like sticking to the ground. The gravity also seems to be lower compared to other games. For example, when you jump over a small crest, the car falls down noticeably slower compared to other games in the franchise. But guess what? The physics in this game are not all bad. There's one good thing I can say about the physics in this game. Codemasters transferred over the jumping physics from Colin McRae Rally 2.0 to this game. And that's a good thing. But for some reason they worked correctly when you jump over big crests. Why do the physics feel weird when you jump over small crests, but they feel perfectly fine when you jump over big crests? I don't know, and I don't think I'll ever find out. Wait, I just remembered. Forget about the bad physics, because that isn't even the worst part. The worst part of the game is the handling. I don't think I'm ready for this. I need to prepare myself for this section. And I know just how to do it. I'm going to talk about something really important first. In case you didn't notice, I've messed up some of my lines in this video. Some of my lines are not grammatically correct. And also, if you feel like I'm stuttering a lot in this video, I'm really sorry. This game took at least 10% of my soul. And that was the important message. Now let's actually try to talk about the handling. The handling in this game is a gigantic downgrade compared to its predecessor, and other games in the franchise as well. It's worse in every single way. But why is it worse in every single way? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Firstly, it's horribly unbalanced. There are times where the handling is just grippy. Then there are times where the handling is just slidey, and then there are times where the handling is just twitchy. There's no in between. Each surface type is supposed to change the handling, at least slightly, but there's a problem. The handling is almost always the same. Racing on gravel doesn't feel any different than racing on snow. Secondly, the game is much more arcadey compared to other games in the franchise. There's nothing wrong with making a game incredibly arcadey, but here's the thing, it has to be done well. And Codemasters didn't pull it off this time. The controls are way more responsive than they should be, the car is way more mobile than it should be, or is it mobile? I don't know, the game is making me lose my mind. Brakes, while decent, can be a bit too strong at times. Acceleration is also way stronger compared to other games in the franchise. The handling also feels very floaty. It really feels like the car doesn't actually touch the ground. It just levitates slightly above the surface. Thirdly, the handling is very chuckable. Yeah, I don't think I need to explain myself here. Let's move on. Fourthly, if that's even a word, the damage barely affects the handling. Sure, it does make the handling worse, but you won't be able to tell. Fifthly, again, if that's even a real word, the suspension work in this game is horrible. As a matter of fact, it might as well not exist because you just can't feel it. And even when you can feel it, the suspension works only in very specific situations. For example, you jump over a crest and the car pounds the ground. The car bounces for a second or two, but the handling is unaffected. That's how bad the suspension is in this game. I've heard many people say that the suspension work in this game is actually good, but I have to ask you something. Are you out of your mind? And lastly, finally, we get to talk about the biggest problem with the handling. Remember the part of the video where I said that racing on gravel doesn't feel any different than racing on snow? There's one exception to that rule. Like I've said before, 99% of the time, the handling is sometimes grippy, sometimes twitchy, and sometimes slidey. But what happens when you switch from gravel to tarmac? Some stages do that. Get this, when you switch from gravel to tarmac, you gain so much grip for no reason whatsoever. This change is also instant. It happens as soon as the tiniest pixel touches the tarmac, and like I've said before, it happens instantly. This makes the handling extremely oversteery on tarmac, and with such oversteery handling, you will crash. A lot. To summarize this section, the handling is extremely arcadey, chuckable, and it's a bit more on a pivot point. Finally, I can move on to the next section of the video. Now let's talk about the cars and the car selection. Wait, the car selection? What car selection? There's only one car you can use in this game. The car in question is Colin McRae's Ford Focus RSWRC02. How's the car? Well, it's not like I didn't talk about the handling just a few minutes ago. Just rewatch the part where I talk about the handling. That part of the video perfectly describes this car. This section of the video didn't take too long, surprisingly. Now let's talk about the tracks, the track design, and the locations. Huh? Wait, what? What do you mean there are more cars? Oh yeah, those cars. The game also gives you different car brands and different cars from those car brands. I will definitely butcher some of the names here, so forgive me for that. In this game you can also use a couple Subaru cars, a couple Mitsubishi cars, a couple MG cars, and a couple Fiat cars. The game also has some other car brands which I can't pronounce, so again, forgive me for that. How do they handle? Well, they handle just like the Ford Focus. I don't have anything interesting to say about those cars, except for the fact that some of those cars are more grippy, some of them are less grippy, some of them are more twitchy, some of them are less twitchy, some of them are more slidey, some of them are less slidey. Some of them accelerate slower, some of them accelerate faster, some of them have better top speed, some of them have worse top speed, some of them are more responsive, some of them are less responsive, and it goes on. Wait, so that means those cars do handle differently? Well, they do, but here's the thing. The differences between those cars aren't all that noticeable. Like I've said before, they all feel pretty much the same. The game does give you some interesting car variants. For example, you can use the Ford WRC replica transit van. Never mind, game of all time. If you use cheats, you can also access some really wacky and really goofy vehicles. Yes, I have to talk about them. Codemasters clearly knows the meaning of fun because you can also use a jet, a Baja buggy, a tank, and a hovercraft. Wait, a hovercraft? Oh. Now the floaty handling makes sense. And those were the cars and the car selection. Before I can move on to the next section, I also have to talk about some problems regarding the cars and the car selection. Firstly, at the beginning of the game, 90% of the cars are locked. You have to unlock them. How do you unlock them? Just win championships. Oh, and you have to win them. You can't take second place. Secondly, going back to the all cars feel similar to one another, almost all of the cars have a 6-speed gearbox. That's how similar they are to one another. There's one car in the game that doesn't have a 6-speed gearbox, but I honestly can't remember which one. That's how forgettable those cars are. And thirdly, remember the part where I said that you can use those other cars? Well, you can't use them in the championship mode. You're stuck with the Ford Focus in the championship mode. All of those other cars I've talked about can be used only in the single race mode. Why? Oh, and before I forget, in order to use cheats in this game, you need cheat codes. Obviously, right? In order to get the cheat codes, you have to go to the official website of the game, which was shut down a long time ago. Thankfully, the silent patch redirects you to a different website where you can still obtain those codes. Thanks to the silent patch, I was able to get those wacky and goofy vehicles. Thank you, Silent. Okay, I guess this section of the video wasn't that short. Now we can finally move on to the next section. The tracks, the track design and the locations. Good news, everybody. I can finally stop complaining and talk about the good stuff for once. The track design in this game is fantastic. In fact, I would argue that this game has the best track design in the entire franchise. Yes, I mean it. There are so many track types in this game. You have straightforward tracks, you have technical tracks, you have wide tracks, you have narrow tracks. You get tracks with many elevation changes, you get tracks with many surface types, you get tracks with many obstacles on the road, and you also get tracks where you can experience all of those things at once. However, the most common track type you'll see in this game is a mix of straightforward, technical, and wide. This track type also features some other features from time to time. But that's okay because those tracks are fantastic. They are varied and they also have many spots that will make you remember these courses. I really don't know what else I can say about those tracks. You just have to see them for yourself. But as good as those tracks are, as good as the track design really is, it isn't flawless. Most of the tracks in this game are a bit too wide, and the only narrow sections are the bridges. But that doesn't change the fact that the tracks are amazing. The same goes for the track design. Also, I have to quickly talk about the locations. There are 8 countries you have to race through in this game, each with their own surface type. You have Sweden with snow, Japan with wet tarmac, UK with wet tarmac, wet gravel and wet mud, Finland with gravel, Spain with dry concrete and tarmac, Australia with dry loose pea gravel, USA with gravel and dusty tarmac, and Greece with dry rough gravel. All of those locations are fantastic. They feel accurate and they also provide a good amount of challenge. I've just realized that I've stuttered. I'm tired, okay? Anyway, those locations aren't flawless because almost all of them have a catch. What's the catch? The oversteery handling when you switch surfaces from gravel to tarmac. I've already explained it in the handling section of the video, so I'm not going to repeat myself here. I'm sure you'll be able to find your favorite location in this game. My personal favorite location in this game is Spain. Do you know why? Because it's the only location in the game that doesn't have this catch. Spain is the only surface type in the game that has only one surface type. Because of that, you can get used to this horrible handling really quickly, and you'll be able to go pretty fast once you get the hang of it. Not only that, Spain also features many shortcuts you can use to your advantage. Those are all the reasons why I love Spain in this game so much. Talking about those tracks, track designs and locations felt great, but unfortunately I have some things to complain about. But this time those complaints are about the game itself. In Colin McRae Rally 2.0 you could repair your car on your own terms. You could see how badly the car was damaged, you could repair the most broken parts, and most importantly, there was an actual strategy involved here. Yeah, sorry for that bad pronunciation of involved. Like I've said before, I'm really tired, I'm really sorry. Anyway, in Colin McRae Rally 3, it is not possible to manually repair the damage of the car. It is calculated and repaired automatically. Why? Why is it like this? Why can't I just repair the car on my own terms? Come on. Another complaint. In Colin McRae Rally 2.0, you could set up your car to your own liking. Changing the car setup in that game actually mattered because it could actually improve the handling of your car in that game. It also encouraged the player to experiment, see what works and what doesn't. In Colin McRae Rally 3, the setup of the car is, most of the times, already adjusted to the stage's conditions. Why? Why is it like this? What's the point of the surface areas then? What's the point of them if you're just going to automatically set up my car? You know what? All this complaining is making me sick. Let's talk about the good stuff for a change. Or should I say, the other good stuff. The UI. The UI is very clean and unique. Kind of simplistic, but it works in this kind of game. Some parts of the UI also have some nice animations, which are really cool to see, like these ones right here. The way those info boxes just appear and they also point you towards broken parts. I don't know, it's simplistic, but I kinda like it, I'm not gonna lie. The main menu theme and the general vibe of the main menu. The main menu theme composed specifically for this game is really nice to listen to. It sounds very calm yet very energetic at the same time. The instruments used for this song also sound great. It also shows you what you're getting yourself into, which is a nice touch. As for the main menu vibe, it really reminds me of those BBC channel transitions you would see back in the day. I'm talking about the TV channel, not the other BBC. Also, yes, I know the video is lagging right now. I'm sorry. This is the only part of the video where it happens. Again, I'm really sorry. I'll try to fix that in the future. Going back to the main menu vibe, yeah, that's all I can say. The main menu vibe is just immaculate. It feels great. And lastly, this game has something unique. Not even other games in this franchise have this. Cockpit view in replays, and not only one cockpit view, it uses different FOVs. I just feel immersed when I watch myself blaze through the stage in a cockpit view. Okay, now we can finally answer the question. How bad is Colin McRae Rally 3 really? If you compare this game to other games in the franchise, well, it's easily the most disappointing game in this franchise. It's also, unfortunately, one of the, big air quotes here, worst games in the franchise. One of. Why did I say it like that? Because Colin McRae Rally 2013 is worse. Oh, just wait until I get to that game. Colin McRae Rally 3 is a game that has nice graphics and an amazing track design, but unfortunately it also has a bad damage model, bad physics, and horrible handling. If this quick description convinces you to play the game for some reason, please play it with the silent patch. It fixes many big issues with the game and also makes the game more playable. Colin McRae Rally 3 isn't the worst racing game ever made, but it doesn't offer anything special. Alright, I'm done. Thanks for watching.
Just me.